heading to the big one, the fourth and penultimate stage of the Tour de Hongrie, and it's following a wonderful sprint conclusion to long crash to Sexard yesterday. In the 3¼ hours, it looked as if it was going to be Fernando Gaviria, but popping up at the death just in the nick of time, Tim Merlier to take his second victory in 3 days, his second victory in his visits to Hungary. What a fine execution of top sprint action it was indeed by the Belgian superstar. He claimed his fourth victory of the season, 71st of his career. Arm raised aloft, tough day for the riders. Weather has been a little bit choice. Into the yellow jersey goes Tim Merlier once again, unseating Benoit Cosnefroy by just the slender margin of 4 seconds ahead of this big general classification stage. That is the penultimate day of racing action. Heading out of Mohacs today, weather is absolutely miserable. I can tell you the mercury hasn't risen much above 10 degrees Celsius all day. Heading towards Pécs, and riders have had to keep the rain jackets on for much of the day to this point. They've reduced the distance as a result of the inclement weather conditions, so that thankfully at least is 41 kilometers shaved off. And nonetheless, we are emerging from a regular destination, actually, Mohacs. On the right bank of the Danube here, southernmost host city in the history of the Tour de Hongrie. There you go, that grey bit is the bit that they've cut out, so unfortunately the denizens of Arcani and Siklos will have to wait another year for the appearance of the riders, but I think probably, indeed definitely, the right decision by the organisers to just pare a bit of distance off this. It's those riders are going to be cold to the bone after this one. Set to be a grippy and challenging day in the saddle, it always was. By contrast, Pécs is a very popular destination in this particular event. This its third visit in 4 years. Last two proving very popular indeed, with that ramp up to the finish line in the Metchek Mountains. These are the scenes recorded earlier on today as the riders made their way, somewhat dreary fashion, you might say. 109 riders available following yesterday's third stage. Flag in and off they went, and I can tell you it was a sustained push. More deer playing chicken, so to speak, with the peloton. In this case, no harm, no foul. No deer either. Plenty of land art to take on, and a few soggy and sodden Hungarian flags being held aloft to encourage the riders on. Eventually, after a sustained scrap, we had about 8 riders clear for a short while, but Jakob Söderqvist in particular proving very strong in the breakaway, thinning that group out to a select group of 4 riders clear of the field for much of the afternoon to this point. I can tell you Max Canter has just been dropped, the XDS Astana man, leading the points classification, or at least he's in the points classification jerseys behind Tim Merlier, looking after that jersey on his behalf. But it is riders from the breakaway picking up the early mountains points as they make their way up and through Pécs. Basically, they have 3 full laps that they do of a short circuit in and around the town of Pécs, and we're on that circuit now, and we go up what is a very, very steep and challenging ramp of about 2 kilometers, 1.9 kilometers at an average of well over 10%. Indeed, most of it is at sort of about 12 to 15%. And then they kind of loop around for 3. We go up that one 3 times, and then 4th time up, we make a little right turn, do another 400 meters of climbing, and just to make it a bit more demanding, to the finish line. It will be the first time they see the finish line. That extra 400 meters is just bolted onto to the distance at the end of what is a very challenging climb, and all of the real challenges in this stage are backloaded. The peloton thinning out a little bit. Here's Max Canter, who's done a really, really solid job today to make it into the break, but he's a frustrated man because the first intermediate sprint of the day, which would have offered points towards that points classification, was to have come with 151 kilometers remaining, by which time he probably would have scooped the 5 points. But unfortunately, the first sprint is now going to happen as a result of those course alterations, with 47 kilometers to go, which means we've still got about 12, 13 kilometers to go to get to that, and Max Canter's back in the peloton. So It's a little bit of an irritation given the effort that he's made. And I'll tell you what, this break have been kept honest because they've been pushing on the front of that peloton for much of the day. Slight change in personnel here, but they have had representation. Patrick Gamper, who's just second in line here, has been doing great work today to just set a really tough agenda on the front of the peloton. And the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad, who sits second overall with Benoit Koznefon lurking, erstwhile yellow jersey, but he would be a pretender to the throne, I suspect, after his stage 2 success. And Benoit Koznefon of the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad, you would imagine that his team might have felt the need to take responsibility for the pacemaking. They never even were asked, because it has been other teams that have been happy enough to set the agenda, most particularly the Jayco Lula team with the man second in line here. Patrick Gamper doing lots and lots of hard pacemaking. We have seen Mohamed Al-Moutawi from UAE Team Emirates XRG also on the front for extended periods. Fernando Gaviria did a turn or two for the Cajaral squad, as indeed did his teammate Pablo L'Hospital. And well, it's all basically amounting to a situation where that breakaway, now 3 riders strong. Cantor is just sort of dropping like a stone through the group. A really grippy and challenging finale. The man on the front here, Söderqvist, missed the initial 4-rider breakaway, then towed a group of 4 across to the break. He did it almost single-handedly. The rest of them, you wouldn't believe the pain faces they were pulling, just trying to stay in his wheel. Indeed, the likes of Luke Durbridge among them. And then when they connected up and we had 8 out front, you might have thought that that was going to prove to be a very, very large and strong break that would challenge the main peloton. Well, not a bit of it. So we got a slight rise in the road. Söderqvist hit the afterburners again and shelled out most of the, well, over half the break. So it was a reset at that moment. Then they settled in, a quartet. I can tell you Max Cantor was among them. Söderqvist from Lidl Trek. Adrian Benito, who's still up front for the Team Polti Visit Malta squad. I think it was he that took those mountains points a little while ago. We'll wait for full confirmation of that. Here comes Cantor at a gallop out the back. He's had a good week so far, and he will, I think, hope to hang on in that peloton for as long as possible to get as close to the finish line as possible before he sort of pulls the pin and resets. He's got a 5th, a 3rd and 4th place finish already this week, on top of the 4 top 10 finishes he took back in 2022. So his trips to Tour de Hongrie have been productive, I have to say, for the XDS Astana team over the last couple of 3 years. There's the P-Super that the riders are riding through today. Gap down to 1 minute and 1 1/4 minutes. Samuele Zuccarato is the 3rd member of our triumvirate who would pretend to glory today. Just tiptoeing down this descent, the MBH Bank rider. Really adopting a cautious approach, leaving a couple of extra bike lengths. Always a judicious and sensible approach, isn't it? Just to leave a little bit of margin, a little bit of space. Riders tiptoeing across the white line. Rider certainly is adopting a fairly conservative approach to this descent, but there'll be plenty of time for him to make it back into the wheel when they come to the next elevation, this moment of elevation. Söderqvist it is setting the agenda in this group, as he has done for much of the day, and indeed not his first visit to a breakaway so far this week. Söderqvist, who was very active a couple of days ago. Stage win and 2nd overall in the Tour of Denmark last year, the national time trial champion of Sweden for the Lidl Trek team. Was part of a long-range early breakaway effort 2 days ago that also included Adrian Benito of the Team Polti Visit Malta squad, so they know each other well at this point. Now linking up with Samuele Zuccarato to see what they can do about fending off this peloton. We're going for GC Glory today. 56 and a bit kilometers to go. Been up one of the assaults on Pech, one of their 4 times up the climb. The Mecek hills or mountains just looming large in the background of Hungary's 5th largest city, Pech. shiny surface for the riders once again. It's been tough old day, tough old week for them. We made our way through the Villani town, actually, which is part of the wine region, very popular wine region, which is sort of basks in the title of Hungary's sunniest city, the part of Hungary that gets the most amount of sunshine per year. Well, this is recalibrating that a particular percentage today, because it, like Pécs and like every other town and village they've been through so far today, suffering under the torrents of what is, by all accounts, a Europe-wide weather phenomenon this weekend. We're into the weekend, and we're into the penultimate stage of racing. Tomorrow is a challenging one as well, just over 2,000 meters of elevation across a projected 147-kilometer stage. So, I mean, they're only planning for a stage the same length as this one has turned out to be. So hopefully that's going to be okay. But interesting, isn't it, to see the Jacob Alula squad setting up with such an aggressive agenda. Luke Plappa among their number, handily placed on GC and capable of, and in position to represent Paul Double as well. Starting the day 44th overall at 20 seconds, as indeed Luke Plapp, 40th overall 20 seconds. So that's a 20-second margin back to Tim Merlier, or more particularly and more relevantly, a 16-second deficit to Benoit Cosnefroy of the UAE Team Emirates squad. That's maybe the key number. Meanwhile now, Zuccarello manages to tiptoe along and splash along in the wake of Soderquist without too much difficulty, and this time it's Adrian Benito, the Spanish rider from Andalusia, down in the southernmost part. La Zubia, his hometown in Andalusia, most southern part of Spain. So weather conditions such as we're experiencing today, probably not standard fare for Adrian Benito, just 21 years of age, growing up in Andalusia. I think he would have been expecting something slightly better than this. Coming to Hungary this week, but the riders throwing themselves into the effort, and mostly shorts on board. Good conversation before we came on air. These days, riders often eschew the tights in favour of shorts, and plenty of oil and other unctions and lotions to try and keep those legs warm. The legs are going up and down, they're the ones working, so generally speaking it's the extremities that you need to worry about. Interesting though that all of the riders in the breakaway going for either track mitts or no gloves of any sort, shape, description whatsoever. Tough stuff. Overshoes absolutely necessary, and a judicious approach to the complications of this descent also very wise. 13th on the stage of Tour of the Alps this year. A signal of some half-decent form coming really for Adrian Benito, and his second visit to the break this week as well. Clearly full of fight, full of hope, maybe full of glory at the end of the day. Who knows? Two of this breakaway group, or indeed just one of this breakaway group, are of any great concern, and it is Jakob Soderquist, and that's why they have really set a very hot agenda on what's a very cold day in that peloton, because Soderquist is part of that group that started the day at 20 seconds. Bonus seconds on the finish line as well. Of course, that bonus seconds coming up in the next few kilometers as well. The first of our 3 intermediate sprints today. 3 riders up front set to scoop those, and Söderqvist is set to reduce his deficit, which sits again at 16 seconds to what we're sort of considering our true reference point for general classification. It might be something of a slight to Tim Merlier that he would be only too delighted to just shrug off and go and win the bike race, but that's not what we're expecting. Page's major seat of worship in this part of Hungary for Roman Catholic faith. Originally settled by the Celts and the Romans. Made an Episcopal see in the early medieval age. It's the oldest university in the country. Not far from the border with Croatia here. So 50 kilometers remaining. The average speed today has been, it's been a pretty brisk pace. It's well north of 43 kilometers per hour, given the challenges of the weather and indeed the increased and extreme elevation. The plan over 188 kilometers was to have just over 2,000 meters of elevation. That's obviously pared back a little bit. Let's see if I can find that stat for the amount of elevation across the day. It may well be available. Yeah, 144.9 kilometers today, and still 1,980 meters. So almost, so it's a greater amount of elevation for a shorter amount. So all of the elevation basically was coming in the second half of the stage, which hasn't changed, hasn't been altered by the organisers. So basically, they just sliced out 41-ish kilometers of the route today, which was going to be on a flat road, which was just going to make the riders potentially, particularly the riders in the main peloton, the riders up front in the break are staying as warm as you possibly can. And, the riders behind in the peloton, some will have found these a really tough day. Others, well, will have been trying to keep their powder dry on a damp day, and in doing so, found it a little bit cold. And that peloton is far from 100 rider strong, is it? It's clearly thinned out. They've been up the climb in Page one time of asking. There's confirmation it was Benito that took the points ahead of Söderqvist. Zuccarato, Cantor was still clear of the field at that point, and Kellen O'Brien at the head of affairs for the Jaco Lula squad. Not going for Mountains points, just setting the tempo on the front. Söderqvist not interested in the Mountains points, but clearly Adrian Benito sees an opportunity here. Of course, these climbs at Page are worth 10 points, so that Mountains classification, I think, in large measure is going to be decided today. There are more climbs tomorrow, and it is again a grippy day tomorrow, but I think certainly they could have a huge realignment of the situation in the battle for the Mountains title. The red jersey is worn at the moment by Victor Vercouy, who performed a great distinction in that breakaway yesterday, albeit we're not going to see that red jersey because everybody's wearing jackets, and we'll give them a pass here through the sprint. Söderqvist is taking the points, and I don't think that's going to come as a surprise. So Jakob Söderqvist is not so much taking the points as the time. Adrian Benito following him through, of no interest to him the time. and Samuele Zuccararo as well. They will no doubt have had a moment of communication between them, just Söderqvist saying, look, I really want those 3 bonus seconds, down to 17 seconds, the margin of deficit between Jakob Söderqvist and the overall race leader, Tim Merlier. More to the point, 13 seconds now between Jakob Söderqvist and second place man Benoit Cosnefroy, who's somewhere in the body of the main peloton with the Team Emirates XRG squad lined out in front of him. Merlier is still in there for the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Still got representatives from the cyclocross stars of the Powell Sozen team. Tilla Valter's not hard to pick out, is he, in that white jersey, leading Hungarian. Yves Lampart. Now, how much protection will Merlier be given? I think for them, they'll be thinking to a greater extent, and understandably, that Junior Lecef, again, part of that 22nd group. It's been around Q36.5s, by the way, with those white jackets on. I said that Attila Valter wasn't difficult to pick out. He actually is difficult to pick out. But the funny enough, the Bahrain Victorious team made a huge play and moved a lot of their riders up to the front a while ago. The white jersey moving up there now. Superstar of Hungarian cycling. What a popular man he is. Cantor's still in there as well and available. That'll be popular for the XDM Astana squad, for whom they have Mike Tunnison and Darren van Becken handily placed. Also have Artem Fufanov in the 22nd group. Max Cantor's actually better placed in the top 10, courtesy of the bonus seconds at the finish line a couple of days ago at 16 seconds. Not expecting too much. They throttle back a little bit. They've given a half a minute back to the breakaway, and lo and behold, what happens? Well, it's a few riders, they're either getting ambitious or they're getting cold. Maybe a little bit of both. We're seeing the Powell's Southern Altez squad on the attack, and naturally enough, understandably enough, others fancy the potential to do a little bit of something similar. Let's see if we can get clear of the field. Move across the gap. 3 riders forming a counter-attack. Belgian representation as well. Team Flanders Baloise, Team Pulte visit Malta, and the Soudal Quick-Step squad also spotting an opportunity to jump into a counter-attack. It's coming down with 45 kilometers to go. It's kind of the time where teams would be playing their stalking horses, their early cards in the final. This is Martin Severcek, 3 days of action on the front of the peloton, chasing the breakaway. Now it's time to see what you can do about actually getting into a breakaway. We'll enjoy the opportunity, and there's quite a lot of riders leaking out of the front of that peloton. There's clearly been a bit of a reset as that gap stepped back out over 2 minutes. It won't stall for long. Maybe the Jaco Alulas thought, you know, well, let's take a moment. Hit the climb again. Who's going to have decent climbing legs in this chase group? Onto the ramp. It's a glass-like cobble lock for this counter-attacking group as they try to stretch it thin and maybe race a little bit clear of the main peloton. That didn't last long, did it? As the main peloton, suddenly we see that the strength of this group, that's just a show of strength, isn't it? The NSN squad involved in a lot of the attacking at the early points of the day. They just put almost the entire team in the front of the peloton, closed down that counter-attack in a matter of moments. A kilometre and a half of this one, and it only gets grippier from here. The toughest part of this climb is at the start. Söderqvist, unsurprisingly, sitting on the front. He's been unbelievable so far today, hasn't he? What a powerhouse. Clearly a man on good form this week. And, the Swedish time trial specialist goes well on a ramp or two. As I mentioned last year, of course, took a stage win and second overall on the Tour of Denmark, which isn't exactly a flat. It's not a mountainous stage race, but it is awful flat. And the same team will have skin in the GC game as well. Plenty of most of their riders, indeed all but two, in that 22nd group. Chris Nylands, one of two former winners of this event in the peloton today. The winner in 2019, stage wins in 2019 and in 2021. And of course, this is not the first Page rodeo for a lot of the riders in this group, although not as many as you might expect. Our most recent visits to Page in 2024 and 23. Before that, there was a gap of almost 20 years to the previous appearance of Page in this event, despite the fact it's been one of the most popular destinations. A little bit of a sojourn away, and we'll get back into it. And the last couple of years, no trip to Page in 2025, but Wout Poels took the win in 24 and 23. It was Mark Hirschi. Probably the rider that knows him best and went best on it from this peloton here today is the Hungarian National Road Race champion Martin Dina, the man who has been 13th and 10th on those particular previous appearances of Page. So the main peloton, they've got control of it again. And clearly the Jacob Alula squad, Luke Plapp just looking around himself, number 36, just trying to see what sort of damage is being done. Slowly but surely we're starting to create this blitz. Martin Dina is the reigning national champion of Hungary, who just spotted his jersey, probably marginally further back than might be best advised for a rider who's got a lot of experience in this event. Second overall, and probably second only to Attila Valter, who's the superstar of Hungarian cycling. Attila Valter, a popular man in this part of the world. Lots of rain jackets on, and riders mindful. They haven't warmed up just yet, despite the fact that it hasn't been long since they were last up this climb. Kevin O'Brien starting to make an appearance on the front. And the same squad's trying to stay connected. Different personnel than we've seen for much of the first 3 days of racing action. Trying to stay in the wheels. And the surf also starting to appear. Meanwhile, Söderqvist clearly commands this breakaway group, and he sets the agenda pace-wise. Let's try and follow. Huge crowd out, great to see, and the crowds have been here, and they've been great. And I tell you what, we had a huge number of of leisure cyclists taking part in the sportive that preceded the racing action. That's been a traditional part of this particular stage over recent years, and they've been grinding their way up the hill for hours and hours ahead of the pro race. And quite a few, I think, got dressed afterwards and have gone to the side of the road to support their stars. They've got some vague understanding of just what a demanding hill this is. I suppose they'd say it's even more demanding. The fewer watts you have, greater the demand made by the hill. Gets up to 15%. Up Barani Road in Page, not Tour de France elevation. It's not exactly nosebleed territory, but this is a really, really grippy climb, and anyone from this region or this part of the world will know just how demanding this can be. And of course, in this kind of weather conditions as well, even more demanding. Great to see. Fair play to Martin Dina for wearing a Hungarian national colours gilet over his jersey. It'd be great if they had. Oh, and looks as if Zograud had just a little bit of a moment there. I think he was getting dropped anyway, but it didn't help as he went for a gear or had some sort of a minor confusion. We'll see whether he's going to be able to rejoin. I suspect he will. A little bit of a leg and lung failure to go with a potential little mechanical malady, but it's not given Söderqvist a moment's thought, as I suspect Benito is going to come out and take these mountains points at the second time of asking. Söderqvist has laser focused on the GC and indeed the stage victory today. So Corrado responds to make it closer to the top, and Benito asks permission. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's been that sort of a day where Söderqvist is totally in command of this breakaway. Up to 20 points for Adrian Benito in the battle for King of the Mountains competition. Still the Jacob Alula's crowding around at the front of the peloton. And peloton controlling that 2-minute gap, and it's looking solid enough at the moment. The mountain situation, well, he's easily into the lead of that one, by the way. Adrian Benito, it goes on to 20 points. Söderqvist has 12, so he's gone second in that mountains competition. It's double. O'Brien and Luke Plapp starting to gravitate towards the front of the peloton on sheer class and ability, but they know, as we do, and indeed all these riders know, that it's still early days in this final, but we are getting towards the business end of this, perhaps the most significant stage in terms of the battle for overall honours this week. It is the Queen stage of Tour de Hongrie 2026. We're in it. Setting the tempo. Clearly they've set up for Luke Plapp here this week, by the way. Luke Plapp, best known rider in the Team Jaco Alula lineup. One of two riders at just that remove of 20 seconds starting the day. 16 seconds down on Benoit Cosnefroid from any the reference point. Real gain on the hill there. I'll tell you what, that was, I mean, maybe what, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, something like that, maybe gained by the main peloton behind. The Jaco Alulas, you might have thought, with slightly fresher legs starting to appear at the front, might have made greater inroads. The greater advantage here for the breakaway, I suppose, is the fact that the distance of the stage has been reduced down from 188 to 147 kilometers. I suppose net effect of that is that there is an accumulation of fatigue from these riders in the breakaway, but it's not quite to the same extent that it would have been. rotating around. UAE's making their plans. The Bahrain Victorious squad, all eyes on Attila Valter. It's going to be a major opportunity for him to really get his feet under the table at his new squad after the move across from Visma Lease bike this year. Hungarian star has actually not been at the race for a few years as well, after winning it in 2020. And he's no doubt enjoying an opportunity to be on home roads. Despite the fact they're a bit on the wet side, a bit colder than he might like. Down to 40 to go. Won't be a stress, I think, for Jakob Söderqvist, coming as he does from Northern Europe. Been tough in Viking country. Clearly, Adrian Benito is not afraid of some cold weather. Zuccarello too. Solid-ish in the wheels, I think. Certainly the most vulnerable looking of the three. Hasn't made any significant contribution so far. Oh, Tim Merlier's out the back. Not a major shock, that. Our overall race leader. 2 stage wins under his belt so far this week. He'll look forward to sort of 50-50 chance of maybe adding to his total in tomorrow's final stage, but this was never going to be one for Tim Merlier, so no surprise. The green jersey is going to be, I suspect, on his shoulders tomorrow, although you never know. Sulky looking back to that peloton, isn't it? And those riders leg weary after 3 tough days. Second tough day in wet weather conditions. This is absolutely horrible, but you know what? The more effort you make, it's. Do you know what? I don't know. I feel sorry for today. It's our motor camera rider and pillion, the person carrying the camera and the person riding the bike as well. And indeed, we've got judges on motorcycles. We've got various different people securing the routes, sealing the course for these riders, all on motorcycles as well. They don't have the opportunity to make that physical effort that will help to keep the core warm. So terrific pictures being brought to you in murky and difficult and challenging conditions. So salute to those that are making this possible, because this is tough for everyone, but it's nonetheless entertaining. And at the moment, it's a hell of a play being made by the Team Jacob Alula squad. Paul Double looking good. Won 2 major stage races last year, one of them at World Tour level. Won an ally for Luke Lap. Tim Merlier is out the back and shortly potentially to be joined by 1 or 2 others. This relentless effort on the front of the peloton and indeed on the front of the break. Looks like Zuccarello could be gone for good this time. I tell you, he's not giving up though, and you got to admire this, because he desperately wants to stay up front, and he's worked so hard to be there that you just don't want to give it up too soon. There's Jamie Meehan, by the way, from Donegal in Ireland. He also probably would well know these kind of conditions, but just kind of flirting with the back door, as they say. So Group 1 no longer includes that green jersey, by the way, but it does have Jakob Söderqvist, who's setting the agenda with Adrian Benito and Samuele Zuccarello behind. All double at the double for the Jacob Alula squad. UAE and NSN in line astern. And everybody is really starting to feel this one. We did have a little bit of a break in the weather for about an hour ago. but it's set to be not far short of a torrent from now until about midday tomorrow. That's what the weather forecast is. It's pretty miserable. Fingers crossed. We are going a couple of hours north of here, by the way, to Lake Balaton for tomorrow's final stage. So, yeah, fingers and toes crossed. If we can still feel them by then, we might be able to create some decent weather conditions for the riders for the final day of racing action. They certainly deserve that, I think, after this little drenching and soaking today. These riders showing no ill effects, not displaying any of the difficulties of the day, but the extremities must be surely put under pressure. Of course, the harder you ride, the less it's an issue. These riders certainly are starting to make further and further demands. Donald O'Brien for Luke Plapp here. Meehan's still there. Again, little look over his shoulder. Would have been, he was kind of an outside pick actually for me for the Cofidis squad. But among his teammates is Sylvain Moniquet, 5th overall in this race back in 2023 when he was 4th up the final hill in Page behind Mark Hirschi. And Sylvain Moniquet knows the race, and it's just the ideal type of event for him. Max Cantor, after his heroics in the break today, dropped on the first assault on the climb out of Page. Has been dropped from the peloton, and I'm impressed that if he's only just been dropped. Actually, I suspect that might have been a little while ago. Now Söderqvist owns the flat roads. He sets the tempo on all the climbs, and he has been the man to pick out the lines on the descents as well. He's got all-round game. He's displaying it to us today. 91 centimeters, a pretty high center of gravity, but still he has wonderful technique, huge confidence. Overall winner of the Tour de la Bretagne in northwestern France a couple of years ago. The Flanders tomorrow stage race as well, under 23. Development race a couple of years ago as well. He's only 22, by the way. Meanwhile, the peloton. Different ways of describing the descent. And it's super challenging. I mean, the surface is not great, isn't it? And that continuous white line just gets the rider's attention more perhaps than they would like, and maybe they ought, but it's just, you want to be so careful moving across from one side of the road to the other. His two breakaway companions absolutely delighted to let Söderqvist to it. Adrian Benito still waiting for his breakthrough result. He hasn't got any top 10s at UCI level, so this is a huge, huge day out for him in the breakaway. Were he to survive to contest for stage honours today, it would be on a different scale of achievement, as these quick steps now trying to propel Junior Lecerf into a strong situation. Take him out in front of the peloton. Much easier to set the agenda, isn't it, on these descents. Requires commitment, skill, technical ability. It's like Lampard on the front, and the surfing the wheels in every sense. Benito this time is the one that just lays off by a few bike lengths, just judicious and sensible course of action. You can only race inside to the extremities of the envelope that you've got of commitment. just a little bit more on this lap, didn't it? A lot of extra impetus from the peloton. Another 20-odd seconds shaved from the advantage of the riders out front. But 33.5 kilometers to go. I think you'd have to say it'll be tough for them. A lot of riders in that peloton. Still making plans for something a bit special. It's still, yeah, I saw that, 45 kilometers an hour. It only pairs back to mid-30s through the bends. Terrific images as well from our cameraman, standing up behind the moto rider. Superb teamwork. Zaccarado didn't, he was a bit tiptoed down the descent first time of asking, didn't he? He seems to have got the hang of it a little bit more this time, and indeed last time round. This is their third time down this one. Oh, and riders down. I think that might have been O'Brien. He's off the course under the Armco. So he went between, at least he went between the uprights, but fingers crossed he's going to be okay. It is a treacherous little descent, this one. Clearly that was picked up, I think. I think it's Lampard on the front. We wait for confirmation of that, but at any rate, he said, quick steps with a little bit of a gap. I'm not sure how many other riders went down in that one, but we lost at least one rider from the Jaco Alula squad. And fingers crossed it was just one rider, and he will be okay. He did, by the looks of things, manage to go through. Let's get a look at it. We just caught it in the background. Yeah. Goodness me, and I'm not sure how far down that ditch there is, and let's hope it was a soft landing. And I tell you what, the Armco, gets your attention, doesn't it? Great for corralling and protecting the automobiles and other road users. Treacherous enough stuff for cyclists, racing cyclists in particular. Bring news as we get it. Okay, that would have given everyone a little bit of a shock and a surprise, I suspect. Indeed, Sudan Quickstep have three riders on the front of the main peloton. They're dropping each other. Actually, no, it looks as if it's another team that's has just come up to join. You find your own way down the hill, coming to 30 kilometers to go. As quick as that. Looks like the knee is out of his tights as well. I'm not sure that's from the effort. I wonder whether potentially the rider on the front hasn't been off his bike today as well. At any rate, splits all over the place in that peloton. Tiny little gaps. I mean, huge commitment required. It always looks a tiny bit worse than, oh, there you go. And there's confirmation that it is Callan O'Brien, and he is at least back up and onto the tarmac. He was down in that ditch and down a fair way. He has got the attention, so plenty of support there, and he'll just take a moment, and I think we should probably give him the assessments being made. So he's sitting upright, and that's got to be at least some source of relief. Callan O'Brien at the head of the Jaco Alula's down there, and that will have been such a shock to him and indeed to the others around him that saw it. Meanwhile, the breakaway make it back into town. Not going down, you're going up in this one. Get up to go down. Still a trio. For how much longer? The gap maintained, I think maybe, I think it's a signal really that Soderquist's descending skills are the equal of the very best of the riders in the main peloton behind. No gain, no loss. almost even between them on that descent.
Hey. Ambulance car 2 is coming.
It's a rider from Soudal Quick-Step down as well. Clearly not the only rider, it is Lampart actually, that we did see on the front earlier on, but Lampart, a difficult moment for the former Belgian national road race champion. Another man that's been off through the Armco. Coming off there, so I think that's been a couple of minutes since that happened, and so we didn't actually see him go down, did we? Daisy on the front of the main peloton at the moment, showing his sprinters' descending skills. Sprinters have the best skills, isn't it, for descending. He's in evidence. Tricky one, not the last time they've got to go down this hill either. Another intermediate sprint coming up very shortly, indeed in about 1.3 kilometres. Another opportunity for Jakob Söderqvist, second in line here, number 14, to further reduce his deficit, which currently sits at 17 seconds to Tim Merlier, who's at the back, and 13 seconds to the second place man, which is, of course, Benoit Cosnefroy of the UAE team Emirates Exor-G. What size is that peloton? It's not exactly huge, is it? GC favourites. In abundance, I'm sure, but exact composition of that group yet to be fully established. I suspect one or two riders will have just found the treacherous and technical nature of that descent demanding. Okay, so we're hearing that there could be a change in the length of this bike race. A little bit of information coming just on race radio, yet to be clearly established. And I have to say, that's the most interesting thing I've seen. So they're going to make one more lap, but I think they're not going to bother going down that descent again after this. So we're waiting for full confirmation. It sounds like they're not going to do another lap. Here comes the news to Söderqvist. I have to say, I'm really amazed that Söderqvist didn't take the intermediate bonus seconds there, because the 3 bonus seconds there, because I tell you what, Söderqvist can win this bike race. Here's what's happening, and we've just heard on race radio, the information is coming to us that they're not going to do another lap. They're just going to go up and go straight to the finish line here. The intention was that they would go up Page, go back down, come around, go back up, and then make the right turn for the final 500 meters. This time round, we're hearing that they're actually going to go straight up the hill and turn right. This man, number 14, has 1 minute and 40 seconds of an advantage over the peloton. He started today 20 seconds down on the overall race leader, Tim Merlier. Merlier's out the back. He started the day 16 seconds down on the man who is currently in pole position to win this bike race, Benoit Cosnefroy, except that Söderqvist has gained 3 seconds at the first sprint. He only, for whatever reason, took 2 seconds at the second sprint, but 5 seconds. So I'm crunching the numbers here, but by my calculations, he's 9 seconds behind Cosnefroy, but 1 minute and 40 seconds up the road. Watch this for huge commitment now from the Soudal Quick-Step squad. And look at the splits all over that peloton. Riders who were delayed, I suspect, by riders crashing, or maybe just the sheer fear of that descent, because that was a really, really tough descent. I can understand why the organisers are doing this. There's so much potential, particularly on a final lap, for a really, really dangerous descent. And I think having seen that Callan O'Brien go down, they saw Yves Lampart clearly in some distress and needing medical attention. It may well be that there were other riders as well that went off. So, yeah, last lap cancelled. There you have it, confirmed on your screen what we've been hearing. The final lap is cancelled. We're heading up Page and we're heading for the finish line. And this is game on now with just 3.8 kilometers remaining of this sensational and what could be a sensational finale. They're like scalded cats in this peloton behind, because now they see the gap at 1 minute and 28 seconds. I'm crunching the numbers in my head, but I think it's about a 9-second deficit that Söderqvist needs to make up. Let's get a look at this one again. This is Lampard, actually. We didn't see this live on our screen, and this was Yves Lampard, and looking a little bit the worse for wear, but thankfully back on his feet. And I wonder whether it's the treacherous nature of the descent, or maybe they've just lost an ambulance or two, and maybe it's just that they don't have enough vehicles to support it. At any rate, the decision has been made. The decision, I think, in some respects, is an understandable one. And Jakob Söderqvist now has a sensational opportunity to take the lead of this bike race. Again, we look for full confirmation. Start of the day, 20 seconds down. 16 seconds down on the man in second place, Benoit Cosnefroid. Cosnefroid, as far as we understand, and yet this is yet to be confirmed as well, but as far as we understand, Cosnefroid is still part of this group. There's Junior Lesurf sees an opportunity as well, so they put the Soudal Quick Step squad, what's left of it, back to work, and they will absolutely race into the bottom of this hill and see what's possible. And this final 2.4 kilometer ascent, because they have been going up a 1900 meter ascent, but now they're going to tack on slightly more benign, but nonetheless uphill 500 meters to make it a 2.4 kilometer final climb. We're still on the rise through the town before we get to the climb proper. Söderqvist, I'm not sure he knows. He must have been given some information by the Lidl Trek squad. They'll be, I mean, can't afford to delay here. It's maybe they have already decided to stop the GC. Oh no, that doesn't look. Those riders behind are riding as if they are really, really concerned, and they are absolutely charging into the bottom of this hill. Gap down to 1 minute and a quarter. 5 seconds, I reckon, have been gained by Söderqvist today, or in the bonuses at the intermediate sprints. And that would put him 8 seconds behind Benoit Cosnefroid. 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds at the finish line, always assuming that they haven't stopped the GC already and taken GC times. Lot to be decided, and that's pure speculation, that last point, by the way. As far as we understand it, and we do know we're racing to a finish now in the final 2.5 kilometers. What we're doing with the times afterwards is anyone's guess. Lots of speculation, lots of calculation, but I tell you what, for these riders, you just have to forget about that and just throw it at the hill and see what's possible. Söderqvist has already shelled Zoccarato. Benito wants to hang on as best he can. Some mountains points at the top, a red jersey on offer for him. Benito not a threat on general classification starting the day 5:57 down. Zoccarato too, not a threat, 2 minutes 10 down on their general classification. He's leg weary, he's hot and he's cold, he's sore and he's tired, and everyone has had a really, really tough day in the saddle. Plunging down into the right-hander that will take them into the foot of this final climb. Now on the climb proper. What are you made of? What's the group capable of achieving at this point? Söderqvist looking pretty tired as well. Leaking time down to 56 seconds. I think with 10, 6 and 4, whereas Söderqvist to win the day, I think he just needs to win the day, actually. I think if he actually wins the stage, even if it's by 0 seconds, then there's every chance that he will move into the overall race lead. I think that's the bones of it, actually, with 10, 6 and 4. Always assuming, of course, that Benoit Cosnefroid doesn't take bonus seconds, which may well yet happen. But that peloton, I think, is a lot less than 55 seconds behind. Luke Plapp now arrives at the front. Time to get your skates on. And it's Benito going backwards. This I kind of expected, because Söderqvist has been a powerhouse today. He's dominated the breakaway. He has set the agenda, and one by one they have wilted, and finally Adrian Benito Young and improving and impressive emerging talent that he is, the Spanish rider. He's being distanced as Jakob Söderqvist has been given a stunning opportunity, and Luke Plapp is not for hanging around here. So Colorado still ahead of these riders. And Jakob Söderqvist is almost at the end of his tether. How much more have you got? Still showing at 50 seconds. There's a mile of racing left in this one. Yeah, difference in the body language between our first two riders on the... And we're hearing, I think, GC will be decided at the finish line. So that is an indication that Söderqvist still has more than just stage honours to race for here. These riders still have a lot of work to do. And still, it's very much, I think, in the gift of the peloton. I might suggest that they might well be able to overhaul. Koznevon latching on. Junior Lesurf is still thereabouts as well, for now at any rate. It's Luke Plapp that's setting the agenda. It's down to 49 seconds. Söderqvist looking good. He's over the toughest part of this climb, by the way, although it's a sort of steady 10.8 is the average for the 1.9 kilometers that will take them to the final 500 meters. But the worst part of that is at the beginning of the climb. Still lots of stomping on the pedals required there. Another Q36.5, also with some skin in the game. This is a really grind. They're at the toughest part of the climb, aren't they? And finding out just how demanding it is. Super job being done by Fancello here. Sat beside him on a plane back from Turkey a couple of weeks ago, and he was 6th overall. And Fancello has another opportunity perhaps to move up even higher on general classification. Jakob Söderqvist arrives at the big crowds, arrives at the barriers, and arrives towards the kite now. 1,000 meters remaining. Almost cruelly, last time up this climb, he would have only had a couple of 100 meters to go, but now he's got to make a right turn. Down to 43 seconds. Luke Plapp not giving up on this one just yet. Looks like Calzoni from the Pinarello Q36.5 squad. It's looked pretty good a couple of days ago. Up under the kite, down to 39 seconds. This one is nip and tuck, could go either way. The final 500 meters, by the way, is, well, the first sort of 100, 150 meters of that is at about 2%. It's quite easy. Then it ramps up a tiny bit again to around about 4%. Nothing like the gradients that they're facing on the rest of this climb. It's Luke Plapp that's dominated this group. The likes of Calzoni and one or two others like Fancello have shown themselves on it. But now we're starting to see the likes of Koznevon and Junior Lesurf as the cream is rising to the top. It's World Tour, 7 World Tour teams in this event, of course, and it's the World Tour teams that are starting to assert themselves. World Tour out front, down to the final 500 meters. This is the bit where we take a deviation and now head for the finish line. Is it possible? Will Söderqvist be able to hang on for a famous win? Lesurf goes for glory here. He's not for hanging around, and Luke Plapp will be frustrated by that, but this is a play for the finish line. Down to the final 620 meters, and we'll be running the stopwatch from here. But here's the point at which we award the Mountain Sport. Söderqvist, I think, is going to win that title, or at least take that jersey. That's not what he's thinking about right now. Now he arrives at the 500 to go, Mark. So that's 500 followed by 500. Now we get a better sense. It dips down just for a moment, and he'll have a chance to just gather his thoughts. And it is a moment where I think you need to just take it. And Plapp wasn't giving up on that one, was he? And he's timed it perfectly. I think he knew well that they would come into that little bit where you can get on top of a gear, close a gap, and then go again. And we've seen this in the past on this climb, that it's one that goes and goes and goes again. Close to the conclusion of the day, 200 metres remaining. We know who's going to win this stage. He's probably going to take the overall race lead. It's a savage shot from the early break. Jakob Söderqvist is going to get up to take and cleanse the glory in Page today. Stage 4 of the Tour de Hongrie is going to go to Jakob Söderqvist. It's a massive, massive win at almost 50 kilometres an hour. Luke Plapp is desperately trying to close down that deficit as they run to the line, and he's not going to do it in time because Söderqvist is going to take the overall. Second on the day, Adrian Benito. Huge, huge moment for him, by miles the best result of his career. More to come for the Team Posse Visit Malta man. A huge win, and at least second place for him, and indeed the 6 bonus seconds as he runs to the line and coming some distance. I wonder who's Zamorano to hang on for third. It's going to be nip and tuck. No, it's going to be from the chasers behind. It's Luke Plapp that gets up in third of the day ahead of us there. And the rest, what a day of bike racing that was indeed, as the stragglers come in. Vancello going to try and get there as well. And everyone coming across the line in various states of agony and ecstasy. Calzone just preventing Vancello on that occasion from taking a top 6 position. Kuznetsov just in front of him. Le Cerf fourth, and Plapp in the final position for the bonus seconds. Attila Valter is the leading Hungarian rider, not going to replicate his success in 2020, but nonetheless, top 10 finish for him. Well, actually just outside, 11th across the line for Attila Valter, and Martin Dina is going to get plenty of attention and plenty of support as they bang the boards to bring the local men home. In the wake of our stage winner, a new overall race leader, I understand, Jakob Söderqvist of the Lidl Trek squad, winner of stage 4 of the Tour de Hongrie. Well, that was terrific. And Jakob Söderqvist got a small helping of fortune, I think, from the organisers, who made that decision not with him in mind, of course, and I think they made the right decision for the race and for the integrity of the race, and ultimately fortune favoured the brave. Brave indeed he was, and brave and strong with it. And Söderqvist proving himself to be the strongest man from the breakaway. I suspect that, well, I wonder what would have happened on that final lap. I mean, it's only a matter of about, a handful of kilometres anyway. I think there's every chance that he could well have won that stage anyway, even if they'd done the extra lap. Taking out the jeopardy associated with that descent, I think, suited everyone. Terrific stuff. Jakob Söderqvist, the moment of glory and ecstasy for him, replicating his success in stage 2nd overall at Tour of Denmark last year. Finally, an explosion of relief and joy after a tough, tough day of toil in the saddle. Grippy and memorable day for the riders. Adrian Benito Gonzalez of the Team Posse Visit Malta squad as well. Much to celebrate. I can tell you there were lots of riders in that initial breakaway 9, and he managed to survive and just be the last man to wilt under the force of strength and power that is the overall, or at least the stage winner, Jakob Söderqvist. Söderqvist 32 seconds to the good ahead of Benito. He's 41 seconds ahead of Plapp with 6-second gains. That's 47 seconds gained on Plapp, who will be best of the rest on general classification. Handy advantage going into the final stage. The Lidl Trek squad didn't come with an established, an obvious GC favourite, nor indeed did they arrive at this race with a standout sprinter. Potentially. They could get a stage victory and an overall success in the event. Page, over the last few years, has played host to some great racing. And today, it's Jakob Söderqvist that's celebrating after taking stage honours ahead of Adrian Benito, Luke Plapp, Le Cerf, Calzone, Fancello, and Zoccarato, 3 Italians in line astern. Andrea Pericas and Jakob Omerzel rounding out the top 10, just in front of Attila Walter. Well, that was terrific, and better than expected, I think. And this one always tends to throw up some sensational, sort of dramatic final moments. But I think the alteration of the course today, with the initial pairing of it by 41 kilometers, suited everyone and led to a very, very energetic and engaged scrap for that early break. And then the further reduction in the stage distance at the end. Also proving beneficial to the break. It would have been nip and tuck. I mean, as it was, he had 41 seconds on the best of the main peloton behind. Well, I think there's every chance that Jakob Söderqvist could well have challenged for stage honours, even had they done the final lap. We'll never know at either event. He raced the course they presented to him, and he raced it faster than anyone else. And the closest thing to anything going wrong for him all day was that moment of celebration at the line where he started to get the hands back in the bars like a shot. Major international stage race success pending now for Jakob Söderqvist. Trip to the podium also is pending. We'll give him a moment. I suspect they'll take a little while to dry off, get some dry clothing on. Team helpers at the finish line, waiting the arrival of all the riders in various states of bedragglement. There's confirmation in the general classification. It's Jakob Söderqvist into the overall race lead by 40 seconds from Benoit Cosnefroid. Luke Plapp goes third, ahead of Le Cerf, Fancello, Canzole. More or less today's stage protagonists, main protagonists, with Jakob Söderqvist at their head. And now that 40-second advantage over Benoit Cosnefroid, who frustratingly for the Frenchman remains in second place. Had he not stayed out front, Söderqvist, Benoit Cosnefroid, despite the fact that he was bested in the run to the line by Luke Plapp, he would be in that yellow jersey heading to the final day. That was as it looked to be preordained by some for the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad. It's not the way it's panning out. One more day of racing action for Lidl Trek, and now a jersey to defend. After 4 days of attacking the early break, they get the stage victory, and now they have a different agenda for the final day. This just Söderqvist's first year as a fully fledged World Tour professional, by the way. He's come up from the Lidl Trek Future Racing Continental Development Team. So still an under-23 development rider, but on full contract terms with the World Tour squad this year. He's part of the development squad when he was promoted to the A team last year for the Tour of Denmark. He's a rider of some class. A couple of stage wins in the Flèche du Sud a couple of years ago. Third overall in the Tour of Holland last year. 2 national time trial championships as well. He's got all-round game. He's 191 centimeters in personal elevation. And I think as a classics rider there, isn't there, in the making. He can do a little bit of everything. He's the young dog for the hard road. Best of the rest judged that climb to perfection. In actual fact, they all had a cut of them, didn't they? Le Cerf attacking off the front. We saw Fancello with a bid for glory. We saw Calzone also reaching out ahead of him, but it was Luke Plapp that proved to be strongest from that group of favourites. A sense of frustration, I think, for the Jaco Lula squad after an awful lot of work done today. They certainly set their stall out, to use a stock phrase. Not afraid to deploy riders in the chase all day, and following that, to play their cards, to propel Luke Plapp as their #1 favourite. Riders coming in, many of whom I think will be greatly relieved they didn't have to do another lap. One or two in the favourites group might be a little bit frustrated by that fact, but as I say, when you do the maths, you do wonder whether it would have made any difference at all, and Jakob Söderqvist might have a slightly reduced advantage, but I think there's every chance he would nonetheless still be in the jersey today. It's got to have been the right decision from the race organisers, by the way. They would have piled down that hill on the final lap with a sense that the race was up the road, and unless there was 110% commitment on that descent, there was no chance of victory. So to have removed that, I think, from the equation, I think lots of riders would be relieved. Max Canter's just arrived now after his exploit in the break today. One thing I thought was remarkable, actually, was that Jakob Söderqvist did not take the second intermediate sprint bonus, having established a sort of an entente cordiale and an understanding amongst his breakaway companions. The point is moved now. It's more or less irrelevant. It was a strong 40-second advantage in the general classification, but come down to fractions of a second, as it might well have done if they'd done the following lap. Could have proved interesting. At any rate, it absolutely doesn't matter. It's a university town, this one. Oldest university in Hungary. Major cultural centre. Al-Mutawi on the front of this group here, the UAE national road race champion, did lots and lots of good work at the start of the day. On behalf of Benoit Cosnefroid, he'll be frustrated. He gets the news, he probably already has the news. Unfortunately, his teammate hasn't been able to take that jersey. Little track representation in that group, though, and they'll be thrilled. Rich cultural heritage in this town from the, what was it, 150-year Ottoman occupation. Historically a multi-ethnic city. Many cultures interacting hereabouts. Jakob Söderqvist on course to replicate the achievement of his teammate Thibaut Nace, of course, who took them in 2024, a couple of years ago. We led the race, didn't we? And took the overall, yeah, in 2024. Finished fourth up the climb at Page on that occasion, Thibaut Nace. cyclocross star. This time round, glory, and all the glory claimed by the Lidl Trek squad. One more day of racing. We've got scheduled 147 kilometres and 1,860 metres of elevation tomorrow. That's almost as much as we had today. Balaton Almaty to Vesprem. Final climb that comes with about 64 kilometres to go. Yeah, let me just clarify that. But it's certainly a distance from the line. I think it's a little bit less than 115 to go that it says on my sheet here. I think we've caught up with Jakob Söderqvist. He's dried off. He's gathered his thoughts. His teeth aren't chattering to the same extent. Let's hear from him.
Jakob Söderqvist, congratulations. A pretty hectic day, I can say. Was this in the plan when you went to the break at the early part of the stage?
Yeah, it was the only option for me. I was 100% sure that I was going to be in the break, and no matter what. So it was really one of these days. With this chaos weather and this type of lap in the final, I'm not going to race from the bunch to race for the biggest prize. So for me, it was all in for the break and no other option. And it was a really fantastic day for this.
What do you think about the lap and the whole situation which went down? That first they said you're going to take the whole circuit four times, then they cut it before the climb. So it was obviously an advantage for you. But how it went down? How did you know?
Yeah, I always heard that the gap to the bunch was still maintaining quite well, and we could always take time in the downhill and then lose a little bit on the climb and so on. And yeah, for me, I was fully set to do the last lap also, and it was more of a stress for myself to hear just before the last climb that we are going to finish now. It's because I thought about my colleagues in the breakaway. I didn't know how much they had left and so on. So it was more of a stress to also put the bullet there, but. Of course, it helps it a bit, but I wanted to believe in everything today.
And what was your tactic when you heard that you only have to do the climb once more, and you were with the guy from Polti and MBH? So you tried to do your tempo, or did you expect some attacks from them?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect in attacks and so on, but I realized that, okay, I'm not going to get another pull from them. I showed my strength a lot in the day, and also we just made the tactic that probably the bunch is also the biggest threat still, because they are quickly gaining time, and they really emptied everything when we heard that the lap was cut. So, yeah, I could just go as fast as possible to the line, and in the meanwhile, just hope that they would be tight enough to drop off my wheel, and luckily they did.
When we talked at the team presentation, you said the team is here try to race every day, which you did with almost all of your riders. But now you have 40 seconds, around 40 seconds lead at the GC. So I guess tomorrow maybe a different tactic and to keep something from it.
Even more racing, I would say. For sure, we go all in, and I think as this group grew over the week, it will be no question about how determined we will be. So all in.
Congratulations, have a good rest. Thank you, Jakob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a confident man, isn't he? As well he might be. He's a young and emerging talent. All in for the break today, absolutely. If you weren't on Jakob Söderqvist wheel, you weren't going to be involved. Never have we seen such a combination of power and determination in recent editions of Tour de Hongrie. There's the situation. Confirmation of stage honours as he prepares now for victory ceremony. Glass to collect, flowers, etc. Again, Benito, 32 seconds down, solid performance, you have to say, again, from another strong rider. And Tim Merlier is making his way to the finish cyclocross style. He's I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but at any rate, he's got 2 stage victories under his belt. He's at the finish line, and he can see what's possible in tomorrow's final stage. We'll try and get him to the podium as well. I suspect there's a green jersey to collect. Yeah, still a healthy advantage in that points classification. 12-point lead for Tim Ranier, ahead of Max Counter. Kuznetsov, potential stage winner tomorrow, has a mathematical chance of unseating him in the bid for the Mountains jersey. Final stage tomorrow, by the way, the third and final climb of the day. Fifth and final climb of the day comes 27.4 kilometers from the finish line. So it's a decent distance. Short hills to deal with tomorrow. Similar to today. 2.5, 3.5 kilometers long. Another sort of walls type stage. If you were in Italy, that's kind of how they might describe it. De Muri. This one, the final climb comes sort of temptingly far from the line, but you can see quite a few of the sprinters working really, really hard to stay attached for as long as possible. I think we could have a combination of riders, a thinned out group, and indeed it's another one of those days when you look at the sawtooth profile that you can imagine there are quite a few riders that will see an opportunity from the early break. See their opportunities reducing in this particular race. So, set to be a brisk start to the day. Here's the final moments that will be replayed pretty much on a loop in the Söderqvist household for a while to come. You're never in doubt. Gain was maybe about 20 seconds in that final 3.5 kilometers. We've seen greater gains than that, haven't we, from riders who've been out front all day. Indeed, not his first visit to the break a couple of days ago with Benito. Spending a long time out front. Rode it all the way to the line, knew the importance of GC time there, but
dear ladies
really
and
had a lot
gentlemen,
of
the award
count.
ceremony of the 47th Tour de Hongrie after the fourth stage will start now.
Giacomo Mosca as thrilled as anyone else in the Lidl Trek squad. And no doubt we'll see him on the front of the peloton in characteristic style tomorrow after his bid for the break a couple of days ago. Oh, he's been going up for sprints actually. There's Giacomo Mosca, but I suspect he'll dedicate himself entirely to defending the overall race lead of Jakob Söderqvist too. He'll be presented to the crowd here, who've waited patiently for much of the day.
He's riding for Lidl Trek, Jakob Söderqvist!
Clock the name if you haven't already become acquainted with this man. You're going to be hearing quite a lot of him in the years to come. Jakob Söderqvist of Sweden and the Lidl Trek squad, stage winner on day 4. Some glassware for a fully committed Lidl Trek squad this week. Great atmosphere in that team, as Jakob has told us. There's a proud young man. Different theme to each of these glass trophies, by the way. They seem to have been fashioned to sort of take in the various cultural reference points. Big telecoms tower that sort of looms sort of large above the finish line here, which is the tallest building in Hungary, actually. Is represented on that piece of glassware, as you can see. Further confirmation of the finishing order today. Frustration for Luke Plapp and friends. A revised time of 41 seconds difference. More prizes to present. The forecast, as I said, is a little bit choice, but it is set to improve overnight, and hopefully by about lunchtime here in Page tomorrow it'll be better. There's the situation on overall general classification. A handy 40-second advantage over Benoit Cosnefroy. Not yet a winning advantage, but definitely not a bad start into the final stage tomorrow for the Lidl Trek squad. Luke Plapp in third for the super committed Jaco Lula squad. They'll go again
and
tomorrow.
The mountains classification leader after the fourth stage. And where's the red jersey? He's riding for Visit Malta, Adrian Benito Gonzalez.
Yeah, hung on for second on the day, and that was enough to secure that red jersey for Adrian Benito. Lots of climbing again tomorrow, so the breakaway have the agenda. And I tell you what, he could not be keen on going in that break. Albeit 4 climbs tomorrow, first of them starting one distance from the finish line.
A Visit Malta Kerékpárosa, Adrian Benito Gonzalez.
Certainly deserved a visit to the podium, didn't he, after that terrific stage. Second place finish for him today. Started the day quite a way adrift, so never really a threat on general classification.
And once again for Adrian Benito Gonzalez. Congratulations.
Padlock around the bike lock. Oh, just a matter of 2 points. Yeah, Sadekvist I thought might have actually been in the hunt to take that jersey, but Benito doing enough to hang on for seconds, and that was enough to secure that jersey. Benito should have a free hand to go in the break tomorrow if he has the legs to do it. Vetter's some way adrift, so but he probably doesn't have to do a lot actually, Söderqvist, because I'm not so sure there are enough points on hand. It's all third category climbs tomorrow. Oh, not quite all. There's a couple of second category climbs. Still in the balance, but I don't think it's Söderqvist that's going to be challenging him. His eyes will be laser focused on the defense of yellow, the main prize.
And the best Hungarian rider in the overall classification is riding for Team Bahrain victorious,
Attila Walter has at least given the crowd a wave from the podium today as he confirms his status as the top Hungarian rider. 11th across the line today. Pays tribute to the crowd. On the finish line, shakes his head. I'm thrilled, I think, to see such a crowd. There's a decent-sized crowd here. Hung on in very difficult weather conditions. It's cold. It's positively bone cold right now, I can tell you. So, fair play to everyone that's hung on to see the man who won this race in 2020. Still looking for a breakthrough victory for a Team Bahrain victorious. He'll go look for stage honours tomorrow.
És Attila is felhelyezte az emléklakatot.
Only 16-second advantage over Marchandino, was finished well up today as well, actually. You know, the national champion who knows this finishing hill well. Dino was 17th across the line. Attila Walter in the same, well, no, he was about 16 seconds in front of Dina in 11th place. That's the difference between them. Just the green jersey to distribute now, and we saw Tim Merlier there or thereabouts. I suspect he's not too far away. Tim Merlier thinks of tomorrow's long loop around the coastline, at least the shoreline of Lake Balaton tomorrow. Balaton Almaty, loop around, various different crisscrossing loops and various different climbs along the way to Vesprem. Vesprem being the capital town. One of the older urban areas in Hungary.
And the leader of the points classification, who wears the green jersey, is riding for Suda Quickstep, Tim Merlier.
Happy to get that one under his wheels at this point. Two-time stage winner this week, Tim Merlier, with a racer's chance of making it a hat-trick in tomorrow's final stage, defending that advantage to emerge with the green jersey. With a super successful first visit to the Tour de Hongrie for the Belgian superstar. Taking over nicely ahead of an appointment in France in July.
And once again, give it up for Tim Merlier. Congratulations, team.
The fourth and final lock applied to that bike lock.
És a belga sprintersnál is elhelyezi a lakatot.
Memorial and the support to all cyclists the world over. .12-point lead, 20 on the line. Points out the road as well, of course, for Adrian Benito, potentially. But I think Tim Merlier looking pretty good for that title. His focus will be on the bid for stage honours and the opportunity that will give him to copper fasten his situation at the head of the points classification by extension. That's our final award of the prize presentation at the conclusion of the fourth and penultimate stage of the Tour de Hongrie 2026. We're now looking forward to heading to the Finnish town location of the final stage tomorrow, near the shore of Lake Balaton in Vesprem. So they've mapped out a really, really nice stage. Issue still in doubt, it's far from certain, but very strong situation now for Jakob Söderqvist and the Lidl Trek squad to defend. I look forward to that opportunity, and judging by the confidence displayed by the young Swede in his victory interview a little while ago, I think he'll be certainly up for the fight. Another opportunity to go racing, he just loves it. And awaiting jury decision, so a little bit of a conversation yet to be had. So I'm seeing that. I don't know what that has to I don't know what that's about, but I'm awaiting jury decision. What's that all about? Haven't heard anything on the radio, but suffice it to say, this one's set to run and run. We've awarded jerseys. They're going to be stinging the tail. some sort of
Egy piros cipőt szeretne
decision to be made.
átnyújtani polgármester úrnak, hogy befogadott minket a település, és mindig már mondhatjuk, fantasztikus helyszínű szolgált. A cugaidő ellenére is
thank you,
nagyon
Tour
sokan
Hongrie.
kilátogathatók, akár a Báránytetőre, akár...
And thank you, Paige. Thank you to all of the host towns and destinations along the way. Disappointment actually for one or two today by being paired from the stage parkour. Going to leave you with these images from a terrific day of racing, challenging for all of the riders, the race organisers, everyone involved. At the end of it all, we got tremendous entertainment. We got a really impressive stage winner. Jakob Söderqvist can take that one in. Sore day as well for one or two riders who hit the deck. We hope they'll be able to make a swift recovery from that. Glory for Jakob Söderqvist. He races on now to the final stage. I'm Declan Quigley. I'm going to race to the final stage finish as well. Bring you those images again tomorrow. But for now, thanks for watching.